Hey all, this is O1 Boku and
The jolliest of jackasses, Jarek.
hey, and we are coming at you with another quasi movie review, also anime as you see here. This is Jarek's copy of Jin-Roh. We actually watched this a while ago for Memorial Day, and yeah, I know I've been getting a little behind, work and other things. Plus, we came down sick with some things. I will let you leave it up to your imagination what it was, but hey, that's why I love guessing games. But anyway, we are here to talk about Jin-Roh, which I will let Jarek start off with the tale of this because he knows a bit more about the tale. So take it away, Jarek. Why don't you explain a little bit of backstory on Jin-Roh here before we get
So,
to the main one?
and those of you who really love your Akira, welcome to one of the most forgotten aspects of that guy's film history because he was the director on this. Yeah, apparently Oshii had to agree to let him do like a consistent running theme with the movie, or he couldn't get his help on it. This is kind of like Oshii's big wet dream project. This is actually the third part of the story. The last one too. The other two parts are actually, I believe, a drama CD, which was the only way he could get the first part done, and then the second one's a live action movie that acts as a prequel to like this series. And this is actually kind of a neat, odd little thing because this is like a historical reinterpretation of what would happen if the Nazis did win and Japan stayed allied with them, but were now basically kind of like as political kids would say, a duchy of their empire, or more like a territorial incorporated nation.
Or
Think U.S. Samoa, but Japan.
or an extension, as they say, like an extension of the Nazi imperialistic regime. Because yes, Jarek is absolutely right. I had never seen this. I've seen. I mean, obviously, don't know if you can tell there because I know it's because he's all the main character's all shrouded in black. But as you see, just the armor, the helmet, the way the eyes look, it's like he looks like one of the SS Waffen, Gestapo
Yeah,
soldiers that would have.
one of the Luftwaffen.
Yeah.
But strange thing about this is, if you think about it, what happens in this movie with like Japan being part of the winning side, but basically becoming an incorporated territory, you could think of this as being like sort of an inspiration for what happened in like Code Geass, with Japan basically getting forcefully integrated into the Britannian society and just being 11. Or if you really want to be a pedantic asshole about it, you could think of this as being no different than what happened to Australia, New Zealand, and Papua New Guinea, where technically you're part of the empire, but you stay on your side of the line. But another odd thing, I'm not sure if our friends out there can see it. This is one of the another one of the forgotten Viz treasures, and in case you notice here on the side, one of the, I believe, last releases Bandai did for anime before their incorporation with Namco.
Yeah. And don't worry, Jarek, I do it all the time because we are reversed in, the picture. We're coming back at us through the camera. But hey, we all do it. But yeah, and that's the one thing I thought was very interesting is where I've never seen anything with Jin-Roh. When Jarek explained all that, I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense now because throughout this film, they're driving Volkswagen Beetles, German cars,
Yeah.
MP40s, Mausers, Lugers. It's all German incorporated. But at the same time, the way this movie starts out is you have obviously the people slash freedom fighters, however you want to look at it, fighting against the government. And then you also have government and areas of the government infighting with each other, trying to take over the country to have what
Yeah.
they see done or what they see fit. So ha ha
Because in
ha,
the very
very reminiscent of right now. Ha ha
because in the
ha
very
ha.
beginning, they have this monologue about one of the guys who's working for like this private security task force, which was supposedly founded just to oversee defense of the capital from these rising insurgent threats. But you can tell, they're trying to expand. He's like, "Hey, do you believe those rumors about the secret subsect of the organization?" He's like, "Well, I don't know. I guess we're really gonna find out with like these latest attacks now, aren't we?"
Yeah,
And there's like this uncomfortable acknowledgement that there is something happening, But, you know, certain politicians don't want to acknowledge that there's dissension within their own ranks because that would embolden the resistance.
Yeah, and we're getting into a little bit of the plot. Is obviously this is us going to here. I'm trying to. I didn't. I'll admit I flubbed up again, guys. I didn't have everything fully ready here, so just give me a minute here to set up. But like, yeah, you get this idea because one of the main characters who's friends with the soldier, it's like there's this idea of where they want to end the super soldier program because they don't see a basis in it. Plus, they say it's hard to control the super soldiers. But then you have the areas of the government who say these soldiers are always going to be needed because we need to control the other ruling class. Because then they say the government gets a little too powerful, and then, you know, you have people like the freedom fighters who stand up and they say we need to fight against them. So it's this really deeply rooted sorry for the pause. I have my news feed going and I shouldn't be looking at that, but, you know, weird other movie entertainment things as usual. But you have this idea of where the end fighting is where one wants power, but it's for more of control, and the other side wants the control, but they want it with their own version of power, but not with the type of soldiers that were created, as they say.
As I would say, like in the realm of politics, you know, everybody's playing these shell games, these poking and prodding things to see who fires the first shot, you know, who makes the first mistake so you can pounce on it. Okay, 55% bullshit.
Look at the audience score, though. Sorry, guys. I know at one point I want to go through all our movies again and give the ratings, but yeah, we're on Rotten Tomatoes right now, which is where I usually go to look at the synopsis and cast if I need any help with it. But
you know, fans, I know
55% critics and then 78% fresh popcorn audience. So isn't that hilarious?
I know you can't see this, but Rotten Tomatoes, here's a double finger salute for you, razor fist style.
Oh, they'll probably see it, but you know, do they fucking care? No, they don't. You know, so it's like that's how it is. Hey, they give the English cast too. Nice, awesome. But you know, that's how it sort of goes. And like, let's see, we got some of the characters here. You have like freedom fighters, like, you know, fighting, creating distress in the beginning. And from what we were talking about, there's this one soldier who kills one and is affected by it. It's
Well, no, the thing is, he didn't shoot because a little minor,
yeah, he didn't shoot.
a little minor spoiler warning. The resistance is like using, you know, they're moving through the sewer, the dilapidated sewer and tunnel system to avoid like the main streets, to avoid, you know, the checkpoint systems, and they're using primarily like older men and younger women because, you know, that invokes sympathy. Like, these are older people or these are young women. They could have families. I don't want to be the guy who takes down somebody's mother or sister. And, you know, this guy, they know they're doing this, so they send one of their secret police detachments down there to basically clean house. And this guy encounters this female resistance fighter. And
yeah, Kazuki Fuse, which,
yeah.
I forget who he's voiced by in Japanese, but in English here, he's voiced by Michael Dobson, brother to Paul Dobson, if you guys know, like Inuyasha, flippin' Naraku, or, what is it,
We did say this was a Viz product.
Yeah. Ranma One Half, Hopasai, and all those guys, but it's not Paul Dobson, it's his brother Michael Dobson, who's known for other good things. Paul obviously became the more popular, but this is Michael Dobson who does his voice.
But, yeah, the lady he's trying to stop, the one who has, like, this package of explosives, which, by the way, she has it, like, in a bread basket, and they have her in a red cloak, and they call her a Red Riding Hood, and we need you to take this package to Grandma's and look out for the wolves, which is their code word for the secret police, the Jin-Roh Wolf Brigade.
Yeah, and the idea is she delivers this package, which originally she does deliver it. She gives it off to a guy. Guy explodes the bomb.
Well, you know, she tried to, but she got caught by him at the last minute. And now he was...
Well, then who got the bomb to explode in the beginning?
Did. Remember, like, he had her at gunpoint and...
Well, no, remember there was the bomb that exploded on the street, though.
Oh well, that was like on the street level. This is in the sewers though. This is
Well,
when you're
yeah,
like
but she handed off one bomb to the street, but then she was trying to get away in the thing, and then she
well,
had the
yeah, but
other one.
they gave her another package
Yeah.
afterwards. But anyways, after she's got the second package and she's supposed to take it to another location, she of course gets stopped by this one guy, and in the
Yeah,
show they
Fuzan.
actually show you that the armor has like this lens filtration in the goggles that makes it you see everything as like red, which by the way is how dogs and wolves tend to see things. The only color they really see is red, especially if they're pissed off. That's why bullfighters have red capes, because bulls have the same color blindness problem. They see red, and if you like move the cape, it gets them angry and riled up. But anyways, it has this filtration system, for like night vision and filtering out unnecessary visual information, so you can focus more on the hunt. Which, by the way, these sorts of combat armors have been developed, and while they don't get deployed all the time, they have been working on this kind of shit. The heavy armor plating with like the motor system to decrease the weight and the resistance on your body. I mean, all this shit is real. This is real stuff that's existed for ages now. And he's supposed to be trained to just shoot on sight, soldier style. But again, this is why the resistance wants them having little girls to deliver them, because it's that psychological thing, like with ISIS or the other terrorist groups.
Yeah,
You know,
that you wouldn't kill a kid or
no
a
matter
young
how
person.
hardened your heart is, you don't want to be that guy, and that's why they do it. Of course, that moment of hesitation is all she needs. She pulls the pin on it, detonating herself, and this guy does survive. I mean, he's wearing armor that can basically stop 50 caliber rounds from a
Yeah.
fucking from like a bar or some shit.
And
But
then
the thing is, this basically destroys his credibility with the organization. They force him to go back to boot training. They're keeping an eye on him. They're giving him a hard time, and the thing is, the whole time you see like this whole this psychological battle, not just between the resistance and the government through the lens of this guy when he inevitably meets this lady who's supposed to be this woman's sister, by the way, and looks just like her. But you also see the internal struggle in the organization through him. Like, both sides are keeping an eye on this guy because he's supposed to be an elite. He's supposed to be creme de la creme. Why did he falter and not pull the trigger? And you see, like, in a training montage with him, with these new guys, they have him, like, redoing the basic boot training with the armor and everything. And, of course, again, they throw the curveball at him where one of the cardboard things he's supposed to shoot is a young lady in red. And throughout this whole thing, you see this PTSD where he's constantly seeing the image of this girl in his mind, and everybody can kind of see it. They know he's having like this internal conflict. He even goes to like the government mandated funeral area where she was buried. And yes, that is a real thing in Japan, by the way. They have so many dead people. You have to have these massive government mandated mausoleums. But anyways, he goes there, and of course the sister's there, and she's like, "What are you doing here?" And he tries to play off that he's not a soldier. She can tell. He knows. And in a sense, you kind of get the impression that he knows that she's also with this resistance. But he's so haunted by what happened in that sewer that it doesn't matter to either one of them. In a sense, you see them both kind of using each other. She gives him like one of the reasons they keep going with the wolf motif is in the show. She hands him the original Brothers Grimm German book of fables that Red Riding Hood was originally written in. And if you know the original telling of the story, you know how dark that shit is. And throughout the whole show, they're playing on that theme of, watch out for the wolves hunting down the innocent little maiden. But the show very, very subtly hints at the idea of who's the real hunter. Like, if this woman knows he's a soldier from this terrible organization, why does she keep allowing herself to be in close proximity to him? Because again, the show kind of plays on the idea of, you're an innocent girl. Why would you put yourself in danger with this predatory man? Hint, hint. But and it really poses the question: who's hunting who here? Why does she keep coming back to him when she knows what he is? Why does he keep coming back to her when he knows what she is? And I'm not going to spoil the ending because the ending is brilliant. But let's just say this whole idea of wolves hunting wolves comes full circle at the end. You see why this movie, in a sense, parallels what's going on right now. I mean, think about it. Resistance movements using shell games, psychological attacks, and innocent people in order to stick it to the man, only for you to realize that they're not as innocent and altruistic as you think. Government organizations with bad reputations doing their jobs because they know the risk that would be posed by letting the situation escalate even further. In a very real sense, if you want a good idea of how fucked up our country is getting, find this movie, watch it, and watch it in Japanese, because it's, I hate to say this, this is a movie you have to see in Japanese to really feel the weight of what's happening. And also, just like a weird side tangent, I believe this was made right around the same time as like Beautiful Dreamer and I think Castle of Cagliostro, hence why they have such a love of the VW bug in it. But it also kind of parallels another interesting facet of Japan's glorious rise and fall, the bubble economy of the 80s and 90s, which eventually destroyed the country once it popped. Which, spoiler warning, where do you think the anime bubblegum crisis gets its name? Yeah, it's a reference to an economic principle. And you see this in the movie. Like, they even pointed out, they say, you know, Japan's victory alongside the Axis led to the greatest period in the country's history.
Only thing I can add now is that to add forward, because, I mean, yeah, there's like a whole bunch of other undercover stuff, like let's see here, let's get that back up here a minute.
Oh, yeah, you mean like the best friend he had in the organization?
Well, yeah, Kazuke Fuse, I believe that's who, yeah, Atsushi Henmi, I think, is his friend, who is the slash government insider who used to be a part of his group, and he got out. But without going over really what happens, he isn't all who he seems. The girl he's interested in, the freedom fighter, Kei Anamiya, who's voiced by Monica Story, she, like you said, she isn't all that she seems, and who's playing who since he starts having a relationship with her. And then you realize that I think it's yeah, I think it's the guy who Doug Abrahams plays here, Hachiro Tobe, who's actually one of his commanders, who starts questioning why he didn't pull the trigger on the young girl. He's up to stuff that you don't fully understand, and all this with the infighting of the generals, and so it really is a very interesting insider movie of everybody's trying to get a leg up on each other, and you really don't know who's outwitting who's trustworthy, and who's that. And to that case, it goes into my two, well, actually, I'll say my three favorite characters, because Atsushi Henmi, his friend, was a great guy, cool and calm, collected. When things start going batshit, though, you see where his loyalties truly lie. Kazuki Fuse, this guy who seems to be devoid of life, doesn't know what to think, doesn't know what to do. You realize that he's harboring a lot of internal thoughts, keeping it suppressed. And the beauty of it really is the ending when it all comes to a head. And Michael Dobson, I think, gives a great performance there at the end of showing that.
And you know, it does kind of remind me of like that one thing they mentioned, like in the museum scene when he's looking at that motif of the wolves. It's like, you know, you're part. They don't just call them the wolf pack for no reason. You're literally like a pack of wolves. This is your family. These are your people. You know, you can think whatever you want to about a wolf. It is a predatory animal, but it hunts out of necessity for its family. You're part of a pack. You know, you stick with your pack, and you protect your own. That's how a wolf pack is supposed to be. And I love the motif because, you know, you will occasionally see a wolf break away from a pack for whatever reason. But what happens to lone wolves? They usually get killed because they have nobody watching their six.
Well, because they're rogue, and sometimes being a rogue isn't a good thing, because, yeah, you're alone.
And you kind of see this, like, with how, you know, everybody's got their eyes on him, waiting to see if he breaks from the pack, waiting to see if he'll be the weak link they can use to take out the pack. Mm-hmm. And in a very real sense, you get the feeling that he's not the hunter, he's the hunted.
and then same thing that why I say I have three characters I really liked in this movie. Not only his friend, yeah, not only his friend Henry, not really Kazuki Fuse himself, but also Kei Amamiya, who was voiced by Monica Story, the girl who looked like the one who was killed in the beginning, who Fuse ultimately falls in love with, or at least is having feelings towards. You know, she has this great, like, sort of femme fatale thing, but yet it's played off as it's genuine. It really is genuine, and again, without giving away really what happens. Monica's story, because again, I didn't see this in Japanese, so I can't really quote on the Japanese voice acting, but Monica's story gave a really great performance in this movie when everything unravels or when it gets close to the middle and end, because she really lets loose about how she feels about things, what the character is. And again, that's why I liked her character, because ultimately you sort of hate her for a bit because you think she's playing him, but at the same time, at movie's end, you feel bad because of the politics and what they choose to do to her. And it's like, yeah, that sucks. And then again, you don't know how Fuse is going to take it or react. So that's all within that, which is why I think why I like those three characters, because it's like those three characters show how this is how society is, and you know, you're either with the sharks and you're against the sharks, or you know what's gonna ultimately happen. So, Jarek, anything to add to the characters as well? Or
You know, I think this is the first review where we've absolutely agreed on everything because he's right. I mean, her character in particular, the femme fatale. I really love.
Chamomile.
Yeah, I love how her character kind of illustrates the idea that the dangerous part is not, the terrorists with their explosives and their devil may care attitude towards who gets hurt and the collateral damage as long as the war's won. It's not the soldiers with their big heavy armor and their big heavy guns. The real danger is the psychological mind games, the constant shadows and paranoia in your mind because you know you want, like, this guy wants to believe in her. He wants to love her. He wants, in a very real sense, they both want each other to save each other from the world as they know. He's part of the wolf pack, but you can see the doubt and the hesitation in his mind. He's not sure about this organization. He's not really sure this is the path that will lead him to the happiness the government always promises you. And likewise, you can see it in her as well. She wants to believe in the cause, but she's seen the death it causes and the suffering it brings. And in a sense, you feel that both of them know that they want to be rescued from this. They want a better way. They just don't know if this is the person or if this is the way to do it. And it's that idea, that hesitation, that paranoia, the fear you feel knowing that you're part of these things and there's all these eyes on you and you just do not know.
Well,
It's like being hunted by a wolf. Who's hunting who here?
well, again, remember during that part right after the girl kills herself and his friend Henry and Fuse are talking to each other. I think it's Henry who says, I got out for a reason, Fuse, and the one thing I gotta ask you is, you seem like you want to get out too, but I think he drops the question as, do you really have you wanted to get out for a while, or is it something you're just telling yourself because you don't know what to think? Because it's like how Henry sets it up, saying, you're a family and you're all a pack, but given what they have the pack do, are you guys sure you can trust the alpha male? Because they treat you guys like the alpha male, but are you really the alpha male? Or
Not
just
being part of, like, a family, because that's one of the biggest reasons people join the military. They have a family, but 9 times out of 10 that family don't treat you like family. And when you go to the military, when you have your life on the line and you have to be able to rely on the people besides you, whether you're blood or not, your blood, your family, your life is in their hands, their life is in your hands. And it's the same with the resistance. If you don't pull your part, if you don't help out your brothers and sisters in the cause, you're dead. And in a sense, this movie illustrates both the humanity and the inhumanity of these two different families at war with each other.
Well, to which I'll say, heading to final thoughts here, because Jarek hit on everything really well with his synopsis. He probably told it better than I ever could. And what we just talked about with the characters there, it really is a movie where, again, like Akira, like Ghost in the Shell, like a lot of the things that they reference with the creators who've done all these other shows and movies, it really is the idea of, again, the future looks bright, but depending on who does what or what does who, you know, who really is in control. Like again, it really shows how not to take freedoms for granted, to maybe be happy with what there is, but also to know that, do you really try? I mean, and again, I guess this is more the governmental sense, because I would like to say, we could trust random Joe Schmo on the street, but without getting into the huge political implications, for me, I've become a bit reclusive myself. I still talk with a lot of people, I still interact with a lot of people, but personally, I go to work, I come home, I don't go out too much anymore unless I have to, because honestly, I don't want to interact with society, because, just to play off it, society is disgusting in some ways, and it really shows through these movies and shows, Jin-Roh being among them, that society and government, they make it sound like they're for the people, but at the same time, how much of it really is for the people and how much of it really to keep that power, and it really shows the dangers of that power. And I guess you could say, if you wanted to bring it to Game of Thrones, like that danger of the political power, about how, to quote Cersei Lannister, once you play the Game of Thrones, it's either you live or you die. And assuredly enough, that's almost the case with this. And granted, with us, to not bring it into reality, it's like, again, we know what's best for you. Don't question us. We know how things are, which is why I have no shame in calling our government overlords, because that's what they seem to be. They are the ones trying to do good, but they have very little power to do good. And yet we're playing this chess game ultimately with these people who think, oh, we're just stupid peons. And I'm like, no, not all of us.
You know what this
A lot of us have the brains in our head.
You know what this movie reminds me of?
What?
It reminds me of the old political saying, have I exchanged the devil I know for the devil I don't? And I mean, think about it. Like, both of these people want to leave they kind of have like these inclinations where they want to leave their family, where they've got the disillusionment of joining a cause that they can see is not what it was meant to be. But at the same time, are you really willing to trust the other side to be a better option? Do you stay with the devil you know or the devil you don't? And I don't know if you noticed this, but throughout the movie, I almost saw hints of the exact same artistic style that we saw in Beautiful Dreamer, which, is a Rumiko Takahashi joint, which, she does a lot of work with Viz. So I'm not sure, but, I noticed with, like, how the montage scenes with, like, the Japanese society rebuilding itself, the VWs and all that, I got a lot of, like, Beautiful Dreamer vibes artistically, and I was thinking to myself, did Oshii get some of the leftovers from Beautiful Dreamer to help do the art on this? Because, I don't know, there were times where I almost felt like saying, am I going to see Lum hovering about? Darlene, join the war effort, Darlene.
Well, again, similar animations can be done for that. If anything, I mean, stylistically, I see what you're talking about with Beautiful Dreamer, but a lot of this, given how this is animated in traditional Japanese style, because obviously, you can see where, when you see the other characters in other anime, where they have the big eyes, the perfect skin, or the lovely details, that's where they Americanize the characters, because again, it's sort of making fun of Americanized values about how we look, how we aren't, what it is, but then that's also because they also like how we sort of are over here. They've always been fascinated with how we are, which is why they do that. But this is more towards traditional Japanese style. So I'd have to say this is probably more along the lines of, again, Ghost in the Shell and Akira, because those were both animated in traditional Japanese style, where they have the squinty eyes. Obviously, I'm sorry, not being racist, but the squinty eyes, the Japanese style. There's nobody with the colored hair. It's all black or brown
or the
all
having a
that type of
hairstyle
stuff.
so stupid that your friend gets to come along for free.
No weird spiky stuff or hair that goes down to somebody's ass cracks. So again, it's more along the realistic things. But for me, those are my final thoughts. I know you gave stupid fly. I know you gave a little bit of stuff there, Jarek. But anything else you want to add to final thoughts before we end?
And there is another odd thing that this movie kind of makes me think about. In a sense, I almost feel like this movie, its overall theme of the Japanese nation being occupied and rebuilt upon the principles of the Axis powers. I almost feel like this is a expression of how they felt after World War II when we reorganized their society under Douglas MacArthur with our reforms of their nation after the end of World War II. Except this time they're expressing it through the lens of what would happen if the Axis powers did it. And strangely enough, it kind of plays out almost exactly the same. Japan is still largely an isolationist nation. It's opening up. It's having burgeoning pains due to this massive new influx of economy and this new wealth and these new ideas flooding in, and the old nation having to adapt to all this change and all this reformation. It really invokes how the people must have felt during the 1800s Meiji reformations and then the post World War II Douglas MacArthur reformations. Except this time it's it's the angry Austrian with the bad mustache who's calling the shots. But in a very real sense, you almost get the idea this is him saying, this is how we felt, I'm just going to say it in a different way. I don't know, just kind of something I noticed.
Well, it's just it's somewhat interesting because, it plays off that because of, again, to just say it for the last thing here, obviously, you can say what you want about the MacArthur restorations, but the reason those happened is because he had to oversee it because of, obviously, the Nagasaki and Hiroshima bombs that were dropped. And again, passions cool, they show passions can cool over time, but that's something you never really forget. Again, that's something that, again, it's a play on because, obviously it's something that Japan probably will never forget that we did, and it's something that we will never forget that we did to Japan because, and to say that we were warmongers about it, I think is a bad thing because say what you want about Truman, but it's something that I don't think he ever wanted to do, but he had to do.
Yeah, because if we hadn't helped rebuild and restructure Japan, Russia would have stepped in and done it, and we all know how that would have played out.
Well, and again, that's how it sort of plays out with the Nazis. But again, too, it's how, because I think they even say in Jin-Roh, the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs were still dropped, but we still ended up losing the war. But at the same time, you didn't see how Germany tried to help in and make amends for it, but it's no, they just helped out to rebuild their economy. But at the same time, again, it shows how war does terrible things, but again, it sometimes makes you think, yeah, stuff wasn't good for it, and you look at society now, did anything ever make a difference? But at the same time, too, if Germany, like they show in this tale, had won, how different would the world have been? Because Japan didn't seem like it was better off either after what we did to it or after Germany stepped in to help them out. So it seemed like the same things played out in the end, but
that's kind of the ironic thing.
It seemed a little bit more dark under Germany's timeline.
That's kind of the ironic thing. In a very real sense, it shows how little anything would have changed for Japan had it been either Germany or us. Because I guarantee you, as much as Japan hates us for Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they're probably glad that their society was reformed under us rather than Russia, because they hate Russia, and it's no small secret. I think Russia is the only country Japan hates almost as much as China.
Well, I was about to say China too, but again, I think that's because they realized socialist and communist views do them no favors. But,
so again, hey, devil you know, devil you don't.
Yeah, but either way, because I know we're sort of getting a little long in the tooth here, but that's pretty much all I think we have to mention on it, really, because we covered all the bases. Have you guys ever seen Jin-Roh like me? Like, did you ever see it? And again, I haven't seen these other two things, but again, I got the backstory. You also get the gist of it from this movie pretty well, but
And plus, if you want more of like the technical history behind this series, which is fucking insane, check out Bennett the Sage at Anime Abandoned because he explains it way better than I could.
yeah. And that's the thing too. You can probably find several people who will dive into this pretty damn deep and give good insight. But yeah, I mean, if you guys have seen this, what do you think? Would it be something you'd like to look into, or is it something that maybe you don't want to look into because maybe the subject matter would be a little too out there? Because, I mean, let's face it, we've all thought of the what ifs of what if Germany and the Axis powers had won
And
versus losing.
this anime forces me to ask the most difficult question: what is the best mod for Fallout 4, and why is it the Jin-Roh armor? Yeah, I've got that shit in Fallout 4. You better believe I'm terrorizing Boston, Massachusetts as a Wolf Brigade member.
But yeah, just leave your comments down below, guys, and just let us know what you think. But until then, this is 012 Boku, and...
For whom the bells toll!
Yep, and we will speak to you guys again, alright?
Deuces.
Yeah.
Before they became nothing but Tekken and Code Vein.